Hey guys, what's up? Uh, August 1st here is about 9:30. Right now we are, you know, got another hour and a half left of Raw going on. Wanted to pop out in the middle of this because, there is some news circling around that may end up showing itself on tonight's episode. Just wanted to give a few thoughts on that. Definitely go check out the other episodes. I guess I could say archives. Other things are in the archives. Definitely check out the posting I just did yesterday following SummerSlam. Just some extra thoughts on the early vision of what we're seeing under the new Triple H era. As I'm just recording this right now, the second triple threat match just ended with Chad Gable, Dolph Ziggler, and Tommaso Ciampa. And as you can see, Tommaso Ciampa won. He'll face AJ Styles later on this episode, and then they'll determine who's going to face Bobby Lashley. So, depending on how this happens, maybe we're seeing that shift, or that shift already with Tommaso. Because I was saying, why is Tommaso Ciampa being this lackey to the Miz? So maybe we're already starting to see the change and the separation from that. Maybe. I mean, we may see AJ Styles versus Bobby Lashley. You know how they usually feel about doing two baby faces. But then again, this is Triple H running the show now. So we'll see what happens with that. A little odd that Theory did not come out to interfere with Dolph Ziggler, considering Ziggler has cost him several matches. So maybe they're steering away from that. Maybe that was a Vince thing. Now we're steering away from that. So, we'll see how that shapes out. But definitely check out the other episode that I put on the other day about Triple H in an early vision and just my comments on how SummerSlam, in my opinion, shaped out. But to the reason why I'm doing this episode now, so there are rumors circling around that Sasha Banks and Naomi have agreed to come back to the company, and supposedly they may show up on tonight's Raw. Maybe they'll show up during the Io Sky and Bianca Belair match, considering it looks like Becky Lynch is going to miss a little bit of time due to a separated shoulder. And just to comment on one other thing, on SummerSlam, I know we didn't get the match with Seth Rollins and Riddle. And, it's weird because it looked like Riddle hit his head when he was going for the RKO on Roman last week. He just looked a little fuzzy, so I'm wondering if he has like a mild concussion. I don't know. But I'm just bringing it up now because they just showed a graphic with Ziggler and Seth Rollins. But like I said, let's get back to the heart of the reason why I'm doing this right now. And what this has to do with is the news of Naomi and Sasha Banks coming back to the company. So there was some rumblings, I think before Vince was gone, that, there was some feelers going out to maybe getting the ladies to return. And I think once the news broke that Vince was gone, that sort of intensified because now they will be dealing with Triple H and not Vince McMahon. So, my thoughts on this. Yes, like I said, I'm not a Sasha Banks fan. She's pulled this stunt before, just being a brat and whatnot. First time she's walked out, but just being a brat and throwing a temper tantrum when, things aren't going her way. And I am a fan of Naomi. I am not opposed to them coming back. We have seen disagreements over the years plenty of times with wrestlers and Vince. I'm talking going, way back when, okay, how many hurt feelings have there been between Ric Flair and Vince McMahon, Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon, and Hogan has been back how many times? Flair is back. Maybe the only thing we really haven't seen is Savage coming back. But Savage passed away. Who's to say he would not have come back to WWE in some form? Another one, the Ultimate Warrior. So there have been disagreements before, and they've always come back. But if you have noticed, as time has gone on, there's always some sort of I guess punishment is the right word, and that is my sister's dog. She's having a bit of a dream. If you're hearing a little whimpering in the background behind me, she's having a little dream. Just trying to wake her up right now. You know, the most famous person to really walk out while they were still in the contract was Stone Cold Steve Austin back in 2002. Okay, and ultimately Steve came back, but remember, he had the match with The Rock at WrestleMania 19 in 2003, and he lost that match. And many have said that was his punishment for leaving. Now, others have walked out, and I'm talking about walking out under contract. So you've had Stone Cold do it. You've had Gail Kim do it. You've had, Neville, who is now Pac at AEW, do it. You've had CM Punk do it. The difference is Gail, Neville, / Pac and CM Punk never came back to WWE after they did that. So there was really no form of, punishment of them walking out. Now you can say, listen, why are you punishing a person who's walking out because, they feel they're standing up for themselves and whatnot? And I get that theory behind it, but, this business caters to your fans. And if you are advertising something and now they're not there, that makes the company scramble. And if you listen to Bruce Pritchard's, podcast, he always says if something like that happens, if Roman was supposed to perform and for whatever reason he couldn't, you always try to match that talent to the same level or bigger. So that means you have to go out and get a what? For the sake of argument, you would have to go back and try to get a Stone Cold. You would try to get a Rock. You would try to get a Taker. You would try to get a Brock Lesnar. You would get Edge. You would get somebody who matches that star power because that person didn't show up. Now, that example is basically like if Roman got hurt or Roman had travel troubles or even if Roman had walked out. But now, the problem is if you're coming back and there's no punishment for you, I'm setting myself up that the next time your feelings get hurt, you're just going to walk out all over again on me. And I think if Vince was still there and they managed to work it out that they would come back, Vince would have some punishment. And the punishment would probably be them dropping their women's tag team champions. Now, I don't know if they're going to come back as women's tag team champions because, technically they were stripped of the titles. We were supposed to get a tournament, which never happened. So clearly they could just say, okay, forget about the part about stripping them. Our women's tag team champions are back now. Even though we announced that they walked out on us, what they did was unprofessional and they let the fans down. Again, I would not be mad that they come back, but as a, executive, I would be, how can I trust you? How can I trust you? How can I trust Sasha that I tell you, yeah, we're planning on doing a women's championship match with you, at the next WrestleMania. But things change, and you know what? We're going to go a different direction. How do I know now if I put you in another match, you're going to show up for that? And how many times have we heard the stories, not just with women? I mean, Kurt Angle has told you a story. Jericho has told you stories of when, they were supposed to main event this particular pay-per-view, the belt was supposed to go back to them, and they decided to change it. It happens. But Kurt didn't just get up and walk away. Jericho didn't get up and walk out. That happens. So now I don't know if they're going to appear on Raw tonight. I don't know. And depending on where you read, it's confirmed that they're back. Others don't want to confirm it. I'm doing this just on a maybe. But I think there is an increased chance now they can come back because, again, they're dealing with somebody totally different. And, Naomi has to have a little bit of embarrassment because, I agree with the chatter backstage was Sasha put the bug in her ear. And Sasha got this whole thing going. And, Naomi was probably in a position like, okay, do I stick with my girl, stick with my partner, or do I stand with the company? And maybe Naomi was already annoyed. And as I said, because I did do a podcast on this when they walked out, maybe Naomi was annoyed, but Sasha just amplified it, and then she was just on board with it. And then again, Naomi could have just been on board altogether. But I think there has to be some form of punishment. It's no different if I had an explosion at my job, I got mad and I smashed the computers, I threw something, where I am, there's glass offices, I threw something, it shattered the glass or whatever. And, yes, I am well liked at my job. And, yeah, if I had an explosion like that, I really got upset and I did some damage to the office. Yeah, I'm going to be told to go home, but most likely I'm just going to walk out anyway. My boss would probably call me later that night, ask me what the hell is wrong with you, all that kind of stuff, tell me I have to cool off, probably tell me I can't come back for a couple of days, then they let me come back. But my punishment would most likely be a suspension without pay, because you cannot go off that way. Because if I threw something and broke one of the glass windows, I could have hurt somebody. But I would just have a temper tantrum and say, okay, don't worry about it. Just come back to work the next day. Well, just forget about it. No. Now you can say, well, they are punished because they froze their contracts. I mean, yes and no, but I mean, that's the natural thing to do, because if you walk down on me, why would I continue to pay you? Yeah, I'm going to freeze your contract. I'm not going to pay you if you're just sitting on your ass not doing anything. Because, again, of the circumstances that you walked out on. And I wonder about these things because, we didn't get this, last year's SummerSlam was supposed to be Bianca Belair and Sasha wasn't there. And, sometimes this happens, I shouldn't say sometimes, but, this has happened on some occasions where, Sasha's supposed to be in a match, then at the last second she's pulled. And is that because something is really wrong with her? Or there was something she didn't like, and she's caught up in her feelings, she's throwing a temper tantrum, and she's like, what, I'm just not going to go out and perform. Because for the fact that if listening to the chatter, if the chatter was that most of the backstage guys, agents, producers, whoever, had it up to here with her, were just done with Sasha, that means that she has a history of being a pain in the butt. Now, I know some may say, well, listen, when you stand up for yourself and you have respect for yourself and you visualize yourself a certain way, yeah, they're always going to say you're difficult, because I know Charlotte Flair just says something similar to that effect. And to me, there's a difference for standing up for yourself and being a whiny brat. And I think Sasha is the whiny brat. I think Charlotte, yes, is tough and wants to be portrayed in a certain way, but she still goes out there and does what she has to do. You can vocalize your disagreements, but you still go out there and do your damn job, which Charlotte does. And I'm not saying, Sasha can't push back on an angle or something she's not happy with. And guess what? Sometimes they may agree, other times they may not agree. But you cannot expect to get your way 100% of the time. I think that's the point I'm trying to get to when that argument is, well, they always say like the woman's the bitch when she stands up for herself. I am all for that. But you also have to realize you are not going to get your way 100% of the time. And you cannot expect to get your way 100% of the time. So it's great that they come back, but I have to see where you're starting at the bottom and you got to work your way back up. Meaning you are losing to, I hate to use this phrase, to lesser talent. Meaning, Sasha would lose to Dana Brooke because they're not doing anything with her. Naomi would lose to Nikki Ash, would lose to Doudrop. If Eve Marie was still there, you would lose to Eve Marie. That's what I mean. And then you guys start working your way back up because you have to earn that trust back. I would not trust you. Yes, I would bring you back, but don't expect to get shot to the top right away. Hell, don't even expect to be in the main event of WrestleMania. I'll put you on the card, but, like they say, the higher up you are on the card, the more money you make. Yeah, you're not going to be that high up this year. And you're going to have to start slowly working your way back up. And even after that WrestleMania, I'll let you go in the car, and then maybe I'll put you 2 spaces up. And then maybe the third year, I'll say, okay, you've earned your trust back. Now I'll reward you. But in the real world, guys, you walked out on your job, you tell me if your boss will welcome you back with open arms. And there will be no consequences whatsoever. There will be consequences. And like I said, you don't see it that often because the last people who have walked out never came back. Pac didn't come back to WWE after that. With that whole thing with Enzo Amore. He didn't come back after that. I believe he went back home and wrestled home. You know, I'm not talking about the guys who walk out because they can't agree on a new contract. That's different. You're not walking out while you're under contract. You couldn't come to an agreement and now you walked away. That's a different story because you fulfilled your obligations already. So right now they're doing a backstage interview right now with Dakota Kai, Io Sky, and Bayley because the Becky Lynch match is about to happen with Io Sky. So like I said, maybe this will lead to the return of Naomi and Sasha. Maybe, I don't know. But I just wanted to come on, just throw it out there. Would definitely like to get your thoughts. Are you guys happy to see them come back? Are you not happy to see them come back? Do you think they were right for what they did? Do you think there should be some sort of punishment? What do you think? Just give me your thoughts on it. If they don't come back tonight, maybe they'll come back Friday. If not, maybe they'll come back at one of the pay-per-views. You know, and then again, it may not be true at all. But you know, I would think when they found out, a light bulb went off and said, okay, maybe let's have these discussions a little bit more seriously. But it's possible if they come back, they'll have the women's tag team chair. And if they do, guess what? If I was writing it, you're dropping those titles. You're dropping them. And you're going to eat some shit for a while. You know? Like what they did to Triple H way back when with the Madison Square Garden incident, the curtain call incident. And for those of you who don't know, you guys may be too young to know, when Scott Hall, a.k.a. Razor Ramon, and Kevin Nash, a.k.a. Big Daddy Cool Diesel, they were leaving WWF at the time to go to WCW. And they were performing at their last, one of their last events. And it was at Madison Square Garden. And I do not recall what the match was. I know Shawn Michaels was involved, as well as Triple H. I don't remember if it was a tag team match. That part I do not remember. Anyway, Shawn Michaels was a face at the time. Triple H was a heel. Diesel may have been a heel as well. And Scott Hall may have been the babyface. And at the end of the match, all 4 of them embraced in a hug. Now, back then, you know, there was no cell phone cameras, but somebody had snuck in a camcorder and recorded it, and it got out. And, you know, back then, they were really, really, really trying hard to make you think that, you know, wrestling was real and that these guys hate each other, that the heels roll with the heels and the baby faces roll with the baby faces. But now, excuse me, I still have this cough, but now that there's this video out there that everybody's hugging, you know, they thought, you know, this is showing you shitting on the business. Now, the problem was you couldn't punish Shawn because Shawn was the face of your company. And if you punished him, you had nobody to take his place. Again, Diesel, Diesel, a.k.a. Kevin Nash, Razor Ramon, a.k.a. Scott Hall, were leaving to WCW. So you couldn't do anything to them. Who was the only person who could take the heat? Triple H. And he was supposed to win King of the Ring that year, and he didn't. And he ended up, you know, doing some pig pen match with Henry Godwinn, slopping around in pig shit. Mud and pig shit. And, you know, it was his demotion. That was his punishment. Now you might say, okay, well, look at that example. They didn't punish the person who they really should have punished. You know, this is a cop-out answer, but things were different back then. You know, Could they have punished Shawn? Yes. But Shawn was the golden boy. Sasha and Naomi are not the Golden Girls. Okay? Sasha and Naomi go down. Guess what? You have Becky, you have Charlotte, you have Bayley, you have Bianca, you have Ronda, Liv Morgan's on her way up. You have this Raquel Gonzalez, you have Asuka. So you have plenty of people who can take that spot. There is no, one face anymore, really. The last real face of the company was John Cena. Can you make an argument that that's Roman Reigns right now? Yeah, maybe. But the last real face of the company, to me, it went, at least again, when I started watching, to me, it went Hulk Hogan to Shawn Michaels. Some may say Bret Hart, but Shawn Michaels. From Shawn Michaels to Stone Cold. Then you had The Rock. Then you had Brock Lesnar. And, some will say, well, listen, you had Batista, Randy, and Jesse at the same time. But John Cena was the face of the company. And now after John, I guess you kind of can say it's Roman to a degree. But is it to the same level of John? No. But now, if you look at the women, who's the face of the women's division? You really don't have it. You're going to be arguing between Charlotte and Becky. But again, the fact that Sasha's gone and all that stuff, it's not missed because you have plenty of time. And that's why I say that's why I say times are different. Back then, you didn't have somebody waiting in the wings. And if you notice, they kind of sort of changed that a little bit because back then it was just Shawn Michaels. And then you had Stone Cold. And then you had The Rock coming up behind him. Then you had Triple H coming up. Then you had Kurt Angle and Jericho. And yeah, none of those guys may have been the quote-unquote face of the company. But when Stone Cold went down, hey, we got The Rock. We got Triple H. We got The Undertaker. We have all these other people that we can do stuff with it. And it'd be like, okay, Stone Cold, see ya. Because remember, they buried Stone Cold on TV. But back in the day of the MSG curtain call incident, who did you have? You didn't have anybody. It's just like when, Vince Russo was the writer and Vince Russo, left. He was the sole writer. That's why there's teams of writers now, because Vince didn't ever want to be caught with his pants down that if my head writer leaves, I'm screwed. I have nobody to write this. Russo was writing all that stuff back in the 90s. Yeah, he may have had an assistant, but now there's teams of writers doing this now because of what happened. So again, if they come back, great. But, I don't think they should just come back, everything's kumbaya, and there's nothing. Because you have to work up that trust. And I would think if anybody who was back there putting up, that sort of a fight would be Bruce Pritchard and most likely probably Michael Hayes. Because especially Bruce, who's been around Vince for a long time, would think the same thing. You have to earn that trust back. And don't think because now, oh my gosh, she's going to walk out on me or they're going to walk out on me, I have to say yes to everything. No, sorry, I don't. And you're a fool if you expect that. So if they come back, they should not be coming in. They, meaning Sasha and Naomi, should not be coming back smelling themselves, as a lady who I used to work with used to say. You should come back in humble, a little thankful that you have your job back. Not saying that you couldn't go someplace else, but, because that also sends a bad message to places like AEW and Impact. That if you don't get your way, you're going to walk out on me. That sends a bad message. Just like you're on your resume, if you're a job hopper, that you don't stay someplace for more than a year or 2 years, Why would I hire you? Because you're only going to stay here for 2 years or a year and a half and you're going to leave. So why am I going to waste the time to train you when I'm going to want somebody here who's going to put in at least 5 to 10 years here? I don't want somebody who's only going to be here for a year and a half to 2 years. So we'll see what shakes out. It's almost 10 o'clock. Bianca and Io Sky are going at it right now. Let's see if this brings them back. Again, give me your thoughts if you agree with me. If you don't, do you think they should be punished? They shouldn't be punished. Are you happy to see them back? Should they not have come back? Should they come back with the belts? Give me your thoughts. Again, check out the other episodes and leave me your comments. And I will be back probably at the end of the week just to give like another critique of how I think Triple H is doing being head of creative. Take it easy, guys.